Anything to say for the video?
I've got no nut allergies. That's all I gotta say.
Among the 1% of games that try something new and actually innovate past the bare minimum necessary to make a fun video game on Roblox lies NULLSCAPE. But what is a NULLSCAPE? Well, NULLSCAPE is more than just a game. NULLSCAPE is an idea, a movement. Each mistake you make, each misstep and failure, it only makes you stronger. Stronger than the time before, with the only thing stopping you from progress being yourself. NULLSCAPE is an artistic representation of pushing forward that, despite how many times we fall into the void and lose everything we've worked for, within us all resides the drive and strength to pick ourselves up back from our feet and push on forward despite the circumstances. NULLSCAPE means to try again. NULLSCAPE is an arcade-type endless platform with a couple of roguelike elements sprinkled into it. It's a simple concept, sure, but once you start, you'll begin to see how the game turns from challenging to completely and utterly punishing. Each game of NULLSCAPE begins at the same place, a floating piece of land in the sky, in the shape of an Oreo, for some reason. And yeah, from here you can begin the game. Throughout each level, it's a simple enough concept to understand. All you have to do is collect these gifts around the map, and once you get all of them, as indicated by this counter over here, you can escape by running back to spawn where there's a shining beacon of light. Try pressing that sprint key, and you'll go a little faster. While that might be the smart option, what we can do now that the beacon is open is find these new gifts around the map, this time golden. But why not just run to that beacon and call it a day, you might ask? If you collect these gifts, you'll see that sweet counter on the top left of your screen go up, and with enough of these golden gifts, you can return to this beacon and use that gold for something new. But we'll get back to that. You better start getting those gifts, because once the beacon opens, the floor around you will start to collapse, and the void is unforgiving. Not too hard yet, right? No. You thought that was easy? Of course not. Starting at about level 5, these things appear on the map that replace a few gifts in here and there. The subspace trip mine. You touch it and you die. Simple enough. Just don't touch them. Good luck with that. But let's say you made it safely back to the beacon with a couple of golden gifts to your name. This is where the game gets a little fun. At the end of every other level appears a shop where those golden gifts I mentioned become necessary to buy things. The shop features both upgrades and curses, which we'll talk about a little later. You can buy this hat that for some reason boosts your golden gifts gain, or these rings that make you fast. But once we're done drooling over these goods, this is where we meet our first set of obstacles. NULLSCAPE has a little band of enemies, each with their own unique abilities and little annoyances that culminate together to try and prevent you from living every single round. They all have simple enough designs, with each of the enemies being able to one-tap you if you don't have the shield upgrade. Then you'll get 2-tapped by everything. So that doesn't seem too horrible, right? Yeah, until you realize one thing. You don't just have one enemy. Yeah, the ICBM, try dodging that with the Telefragger, Mart, and a Skinwalker on your nuts. And if you didn't know, the enemies can stack. Yeah, try to dodge 5 ICBMs while 3 Telefraggers, 500 Mart, Shadow Babies, and a conga line of Skinwalkers are all out for blood. And if you've forgotten about this already, there are trip mines on the floor, and they still insta-kill you. And everything in this game still insta-kills you, except for the bell. So, that's it, right? Please, no more. You're boring me. I'm clicking off the video. Stop! Okay, we're almost done here. Just stick with me for another minute. The game wouldn't be too much of a hassle if not for these things existing. Curses act exactly as you'd expect, changing the game in generally negative ways to make your experience more difficult than it would have already been with just enemies. I'm not going to go through all these. There's no point. If you want to find out more about this and more in-depth information about pretty much everything in this game, just go read the wiki. However, I will talk about some notable curses and their abilities. Not exactly a good curse, but it is a good idea. Like Pizza Tower's Latitude, it creates a prerequisite in order to reach the goal, but gives you an extra reward, and in NULLSCAPE's case, forces you to collect at least 40% of golden gifts to open the beacon, while granting you a cheeky 50% more golden gifts. Generally, it's ill-advised to get this curse because Fragile Gifts grants a greater 75% more golden gifts with no requirement of gifts to collect each level. Oh, what does this do? Oh. I don't like that at all. What do you want from me?
No. In the end, NULLSCAPE seems pretty simple in concept, right? But unlike other Roblox games with similar concepts and ideas, it decides to be fun for the sake of being fun. There are no game passes or methods of making the game easier for yourself, other than just changing the difficulty of the lobby maker. And in a time where games are the most accessible for all people across the world to try and play, the only thing that most developers see are cash cows to milk for all they're worth until their game becomes a greedy, unplayable mess with no future past profits and addiction. There are other games that do what NULLSCAPE does, there's no doubt about that, but NULLSCAPE is something new that hasn't been tried with much success or polish on Roblox recently, at least in my opinion. And it's still in its alpha phase. The game will continue to become more and more polished and well made, and as the next update planned is a recode, it'll most likely tackle the issues concerning the lag and balancing of the game as well. And as the game begins to rise in popularity, it's likely that more and more developers will begin to see the favorability of making good games as opposed to soulish cash grabs. And maybe one day the overall quality of games on my front page will switch over from another Grow a Guard and Steal a Brain Rot over to games with identities of their own. At least it's what I hope. That's not going to happen, but it's nice to think about that. Hey guys, thank you for the views and the subscribers from last video. Yeah, very awesome. The next video is coming out. Never. I don't know. Just probably not for a while. School is starting, so just don't expect a video anytime soon.